Evening all, how are you? How are you doing? It's just after 8 o'clock and it's a Tuesday night, which can only mean one thing. It means it's the Sports Therapy Association podcast. Dun, dun, dun. It's lovely to be here back on a Tuesday after a very strange Monday evening last week. Strange in the sense it just threw me out for the rest of the week. But hopefully it didn't throw you out too much. If you haven't managed to listen to last week's episode, then we finished off the nutrition month with Catherine Stewart, registered dietitian with Dublin Nutrition Centre, also has a master's in sport and exercise nutrition. And it was a great episode, as always. It was just an eye-opener, as it should be, because there's so much about the female athletes which we don't know about, whether you're male or female yourself. It's a topic, as we discussed with Catherine last week, where there's a lot of ignorance and myth and misconception, because as Catherine kind of said, and we've heard it before on the show, a lot of research with regards to female athletes was done by, well, a lot of research with regards to injuries and performance was done, and nutrition was done by guys on guys. It's that old kind of cashew nut, as it was, by guys on guys. But that's changing slowly, and we're realizing that there are differences. And Catherine talked about topics which we need to be aware of when dealing with the female athlete, and it was very informative. If you want to catch up with it, then that's fine. You can still do it. You missed the live show, but that's okay. I'm not going to judge you for that. But you can catch up on it by going to either any podcast app. Okay, so you can go to your favorite podcast app. If you're on an iPhone, you've probably got a native one, which you just press, I think it's Apple Podcasts, and just look for the Sports Therapy Association podcast. If you're on an Android, then you've got a choice of a few. There's a few out there. You could choose Pocket Casts. I think Acast wrapped itself up recently and it's no longer there. But there's a few out there which you can choose. Just go to Google Store and look for your podcast app and choose one you like. And again, just search for the Sports Therapy Association podcast and you will find all 102 episodes. If you want to watch the video, then you can go to YouTube, to the Sports Therapy Association YouTube channel, and watch it there. And you can also go to the STA103, which is the webpage for the Sports Therapy Association. On there, painstakingly, every week, I upload a link to the video and also the show notes, which has all the links and important stuff which we talked about in the episode for you to click on, ways to get in contact with the guests, information about the guests. It breaks down everything we talked about, so you can see whether you want to delve into it or not. So that I recommend you go there as well to the sta.co.uk. That's how you do it. So that wrapped up nutrition last week. We've got a new month now, and I'm very excited. It's been a topic which people have been asking you for a while, and it's going to be focused on business. Okay, it's the business side of things, which is so important. Like I put across social media in the adverts, I still believe a lot of therapists, well, the therapists I kind of come across and see on social media, are devoting a lot of their time to the hands-on stuff, to the manual stuff, to the new courses, to the new massage guns, to the new type of needle, to the new whatever it is you're going to poke, rub, twist, or do to your patient. All of that is relevant and it could be great. But if you've got a business, you've got a business. Okay. And there's certain business acumen, which if you're not aware of, or you haven't got somebody giving you advice or maybe looking after an aspect of it, then your business is likely to either stay as it is or maybe just dry up. And you're going to lose it. So I'm really looking forward to this month. We've got some great speakers lined up, and hopefully it will give you a chance to answer some questions you've never even thought of before. One of the things I do want to do throughout this month is if you've got any business related questions, then if you think of them, then send them to me. Okay, I've got 3 other guests lined up for the month. So if you've got any aspect of business to do with soft tissue therapy, having a clinic or running a business, then send them to matt@thesta.co.uk, and I'll make sure that they get sent or introduced to our guests in the next 3 weeks. And of course, if you're here tonight joining us live, you'll be able to ask questions directly to our guest. I'm very excited to bring to you Mr. Tim Allardyce, who we had on the show. It was actually a year ago, pretty much to the date. Who was talking about exercise prescription software. Some of you will know Tim already, be using his Rehab My Patient. We're not going to focus on that tonight. If you're interested in exercise prescription software, I would definitely go back to, what was it, episode 58 back in July last year. Great episode. And we talked all about the pros and cons of different types of prescription software. And it was great because Tim is one of these guys, again, that I love, who is not just I never have anyone on who's just here to sell their business. You know, like all of my guests are the first to say, you know what I do might not be for you. It might not suit you. And that goes for pretty much every guest I think I've had on. There's no solution for all therapists in the world. It's not that at all. And the more you ask questions about yourself and what you need, the more you'll decide and realize what you do need. Okay, it's all very individual. So there we go. As always, if you've got questions for Tim, then fire them away. We're just on the YouTube channel for Sports Therapy Association tonight, so we're really focusing on helping the therapists. If you do ask a question, I can bring you up onto the screen. So for example, Gary Benson, founder of the STA, is in the house as always. Gary Benson says evening all. Very what's the adjective of police? I'm not sure. Police like. Catherine Reimer has joined us as well. Catherine Reimer saying hi everyone. Nice to see you on time this week, Catherine. Well done. And so on. People are coming in. So if you haven't joined us live, then no problem. But do please, as always, leave a rating and a review on the podcast, whether you're on iPhone or on Android. It really helps us increase in the Google rankings and helps the word of our good guests get out there further. Anyway, that's been a very long introduction. So without further ado, I should bring up Mr. Tim Allardyce. Hello, mate. How you doing?
Doing really well. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, it's only taken a year. We had a little discussion. There's a few of us sat around the table, and finally we decided after a year, yeah, you can come back now.
Oh, that's brilliant. No, I was really grateful, and I love these shows. So I was really pleased to be asked. It was really lovely. Thank you.
My pleasure. I'm really excited. And to tell you the truth, honestly, without making your head too big, when I knew that a business week was coming up, there was like I had 5 fingers out, and you were one of them. And it was like, well, got to get Tim sharing his experience on the show. And the other people, I'm glad to say, are all coming along as well in the weeks to come. So really cool that you could say yes and you could make it.
No, brilliant. Fantastic. Thanks.
People are still coming in. Just a little reminder, if you do join us on the live, you can bring questions up, like Nikki Mansfield has joined us. Evening, everyone. Everyone's kind of a bit cockney tonight. Gary sends it off a trend, and he's from Lincoln. Everyone's like, evening. All right, mate. How's it going, Nikki? All right, geez, how you doing, mate? Nice to see dialects happening. Anyway, so Tim, it's been a year. So I was interested in, last time you were here, you were talking obviously about Rehab My Patient, which hopefully I imagine a lot of our listeners are aware of, because it sits pretty high up there. Again, I'm not just saying this to inflate your ego, but it's still pretty much one of the go-to exercise prescription tools for a lot of people with clinics. But I'm interested, because you're so involved with all sorts of different therapists from all different backgrounds and careers, what's it been like year-wise? You've got your ear to the ground fairly much, quite a lot. Is it all better now? COVID has kind of left us, or most of us, alone.
It's been it's been a very difficult year. We've come off. If you look at the last 12 months, it's been a very difficult year. COVID was extremely difficult, and sports therapists and soft tissue therapists, I think, were hit very hard. In the first wave of COVID, we lost about 90% of our clients. I say lost, I mean we didn't lose 90%. We didn't. What happened was they just stopped coming in because they had to. We lost our 2 biggest client base, which was the sports patients, and we lost the older patients. And so we got hit back 90% in March 2020, March, April, May, June 2020. And then it started bouncing back a bit in the summer, and then we got hit again with COVID. We were about 30% down on numbers during the second wave, and then things did improve a bit. So it's been a very tough year. Our 2021 year was almost break even, so we just about break even across my group of clinics, but we were profitable over the last 12 months. So it's been a tough year, and you know what? How's it going to pan out? I think that some people have been very busy since COVID started improving, because there's big backlogs in the NHS, and I think that benefits anybody in the private sector. People have also got some disposable money to spend. However, as we all know, the horizon is not looking that bright, and I'm worried about the next few months. So we're having internal chats now about what's going to happen over the next 6 months. If you want me to go into that, I'm happy to share my thoughts, although I'm not a a accurate predictor. I can't predict the future, but I can share with you what we're talking about at the moment.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm very interested in it. Yeah.
Well, I'm worried about the future now, and actually, I think this is why this business podcast is really good timing, because I really want to give you guys a bit of a nudge to say, just be careful out there, because we're predicting a recession is going to hit the UK by the end of the year. Now, what we're seeing now is we're about 9, depending on which source you read, we're probably between 7 and 9% inflation at the moment in the UK. Now, that's pretty bad. It's not as bad as Sudan, which is, I think, 200%. 200%. I think Turkey is about 70% inflation year over the last 12 months. So we've got a lot of inflation, which means everything's more expensive, from your loaf of bread to your pint of milk to your energy costs to your computers to your phones to anything you buy. It's costing more money. How many of you guys have put your prices up? Probably not many, because you're feeling, oh, I don't want to put my prices up at this moment right after COVID. I just think people need a bit more help, and it's tough. So all the things you're buying, from the massage oil to the lotion to the couch roll, is more expensive, which means we're getting squeezed, and we are getting squeezed. And that's a worry, and that's what inflation does. But what also happens with inflation is that the Bank of England want to control it. So they don't want inflation too high, because it's a very bad situation if everything starts rocketing up in value, because wages don't keep up. So they've started raising interest rates, and we've started to see this process. And when the Bank of England start raising interest rates, they'll do that to try and bring inflation back down. Now, typically, we want to target a 2% inflation, and we're at possibly 9%. So we're well over the target level. And that means that we could be seeing more interest rate rises. If we see more interest rate rises, well, anybody here that owns their own premises, whether it's your home or a clinic premises, you probably have a mortgage, and you're going to see increased mortgage repayments. And that's going to be across nationally. So people will get squeezed because they'll have to pay more money on their mortgage, so they may not spend more money. So now's the time to be thinking about business and promoting yourself to your existing clients and working hard to build up that client list.
From my experience, I mean, my biggest issue in being a therapist all my life, particularly when I was younger, it's got a bit better, but still I don't like talking about money, and I've avoided it. I've normally been working for somebody else. I've never had I've got little side businesses, but I've always worked in a clinic where I was the kind of workhorse, and there was other people doing all the money stuff in the background, deciding what people charge and stuff, because I just didn't like it. I remember once a couple of times having to be walked around the block by kind of managers and line managers saying, Matt, and give me the conversation of, Matt, how much do you think a dentist ever worries about what they're charging patients or doctors, and the whole kind of thing. And within 20 minutes, I'm thinking, yes, I can raise my prices, from 45 to 50 or 55 to 60. But I think with a lot of therapists, by the definition of wanting to work in healthcare, you shy away from the business side of things. You want to get thank yous. You do it because your payment is seeing people being happier. And I suspect that for a lot of therapists, there is this fear of getting too involved, of putting prices up, this fear of getting a reputation of being in for the money. So it's interesting that you've talked all of that straight off, and I think it's really important, because I think for a lot of people that will hit home. So you're saying people should basically be thinking about putting their prices up, but that's
just start nudging them up if you can. Now, look, I'm exactly the same. I actually really struggle when it comes to money. For ages, I still hate going to banks. I hate opening up my online bank account. I just detest doing it. I hate dealing with money. Thank goodness we're completely cash free now at the clinics. So we just take credit card and debit card payments. And I hated dealing with it. I hate dealing with money. We're not salespeople. We're therapists, and our priority is to help our patients. And that's really instilled in the majority of us. So it is hard, but also you have to respect your time. And things have got more expensive. I don't know about you, but we spend about £25,000, or have been spending about £25,000 a year on PPE. So that's aprons, masks, extra couch roll, disinfectant, sprays. Now that's starting to reduce now, which is good, but this extra cost. So we nudged our prices up from £40 a session to £45 for half an hour session. and we encouraged all of our guys, that subcontract or rent rooms from us to do the same. And clients, patients still were happy to pay that. If you nudge it up slowly, I think then it's okay. But check your local areas while you're not undercharging. I mean, I still think we're affordable for what we charge. Actually, a lot of clinics are more expensive than we are. But I want to be affordable. I don't want to price people away from getting treatment, because I know that treatment's so valuable.
So have we kind of fallen upon, I mean, the title of this episode, to open up our focus on business, was how to have a successful clinic. Part of that seems to be, well, it's relevant to what time you're living in and what's going on around you. It's going to change. The secret to success is going to change according to the external environment. But I kind of put as a tagline when we were talking about it, you were going to go through the 5 most common ways you've seen in your experience for therapists to kind of fail or not make the most of what they've got.
Mm-hmm.
Is one of them on your list, not knowing how much you're worth or undercharging? Do you think that could be one of them?
Yeah, it's definitely a factor, but if you are charging less than you should be, I mean, there's always those that go out there and just work like really, really, really hard, and that can be good, it can be bad. Obviously, that takes a big toll on your body, and can take a toll on you mentally, but it can bring in good income. And so there are ones out there that really are the workhorses and really, really work hard and still have, there's others that put the prices up and see less people and can make the same sort of money. So it depends on what sort of person you want to be. So there are ways around it. It's not in my top 5, but it's probably would be in my top 10.
I'm excited that we've already kind of skirted around the top 5 then. If you're listening to us live, then obviously, particularly this month, but as always, we want your input. We want some questions. So anybody listening live, have you recently put your prices up? Do you struggle with the idea of putting your prices up? How do you decide how much you're going to charge? All these sort of questions I think are relevant, but we'd love to hear what you personally have been through and what you're going through now as we continue with this.
What do you charge, Matt, for your appointments?
Oh, I can never say it out loud. It's like asking a woman her age. But I must admit, I did make a business decision. I mean, COVID for me I was already very much into online consultations, because a lot of my clients, even when I was working full-time in clinic doing gait analysis, I was getting people from other countries traveling to the UK for gait analysis because they read the website, they read the stuff I was doing. I had somebody from New York, a young sprinter, came over with her parents. And even though I had a telephone call with him and said, look, do you really need to come over? I was the worst business person ever. I was going, do you really need to come along from the Atlantic to here? I mean, what do you think's going on? And eventually says, no, we really want to come over and see you and blah, blah, blah. So I thought, I had a chat with someone and said, look, they want to come over and see you. What are you going to do? You're going to, refuse their money. So that made me realize that a lot of my audience in particular, because of the stuff I put out for like 20 years now, are abroad. And not all of them can hop over and see me. So I was already doing online, and during COVID that kind of boomed. And then I realized that because I'm a bit of a problem solver, most people who come to me, they're having issues elsewhere. They come to me willing, with ears open, because they're failing elsewhere. So I realized that really I'm providing a bit of a specialist thing. So I did whack my prices up by probably about 25%, because I was willing to see 10 people a month, for example, rather than 25, 30, because that was kind of my target audience. And I did seek the help of kind of a mentor. We can talk about mentors and things later on, and we had a chat about it, about, what are you offering? How many people out there are going to, want to use that service? And it made perfect sense for me to, whack my prices up, even though I thought I'm going up 30%, because that's what my audience were. That's who they are. That's what they're going to be prepared to pay, because they're like that. So I haven't told you exactly what it is, but I did put them up a lot because of COVID, and that suits my lifestyle completely. And if anything, I think I got a few more people because they saw there's that whole kind of, I can't remember when I did economics A level, there's that kind of luxury goods where something's a bit more expensive. People will go for it.
Demand for expensive luxury goods. And people perceive things are expensive, and some people perceive things are expensive as high quality. So there's always that aspect. So you might,
and as long as you give it,
yes, you need to give the service.
Otherwise it's a bad way. It's the end.
Otherwise you just so that sometimes is irrelevant to one's skill level and one's training as you upskill. So you might want to increase your prices and become a bit more specialist in a particular area like gait analysis or whatever it may be, back pain or shoulder pain or a particular sport.
Well, I mean, what I mentioned mentorship there. I mean, I've had a few people in my career who I have bent their ears and chatted to, and it's really helped. And I think in COVID, one of the good things that came out of it was therapists started opening up and looking for advice and talking to each other, because there were so many questions going on. And mentorship's kind of boomed quite a lot now. There's a few companies out there who are doing mentorship, and the ideas out there. Do you think in these current times, given the potential kind of fall back into financial problems, and that mentorship is a way forwards for a lot of therapists to talk to an expert?
Yeah, I do. I think the thing is about a lot of us is most of us, the majority of us actually work alone, whether we're in a room alone or whether we run our own clinics or whether we're sole traders, we work alone, the majority of people in this industry, in the therapy industry. And that means that you've always got to self-motivate, but it's very hard to self-motivate at a high level for a long period of time. We can all push ourselves for a week or a couple of weeks or a month, but actually to do it for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, actually it really, really helps to have a coach or a mentor, or exactly the same way that weightlifters can lift weights and sprinters can sprint, but coaches can help motivate those sprinters and pick up small little errors that they're doing. Even though they know how to sprint, they can look at the small errors and support those athletes, and the coaches and mentors can support us. So I'm a big supporter of getting mentors and asking for advice and getting support. And it's just, what it does is it holds you accountable and it sets you goals. And so it helps motivate you to do well, to work hard, to hit targets. I've had lots of mentors over the years, and I'm really pro mentoring. It's been enormously helpful. And the best thing you can do is get a mentor who is better than you. Definitely. So get someone who's been there, done it, been successful. It depends what you want to achieve. If you want to work in elite sport, go and find a mentor that's worked in elite sport. If you want to grow a clinic, go and find a mentor that's grown a clinic. And maybe they've stepped back a bit and want to give something back now. So find someone that's doing it better and see what they're doing and ask them for support. And the chances are they'll offer you their time for free.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be nice. Yeah, they might start off that way, but it's interesting as one as well, because yeah, I do worry sometimes, because there are companies opening up as mentors, and I question whether they're just jumping on the mentor bandwagon. So it's tricky as always, isn't it? There's good and bad out there. But I won't go down that road. Catherine's come in. Let's have a little look. Catherine's come in with a comment here. Catherine Reimer says, I increased mine, referring to fees, I guess, after 2 years of keeping them at the same rate. 2 years, knowing I wasn't making any money because of it. I increased mine by £5 in May, but still struggling for clients. And Catherine continues saying, I work full-time doing something else, then I work evenings when I have clients doing sports massage. I feel I can't give enough effort towards my business. I work on my own in a gym. So quite a few people like Catherine, I imagine, putting 2 jobs together. 2 years without raising prices. Does that flash alarm bells, or is it always depends on the individual?
No, I mean, it depends on the individual, and it depends what's right for you and for your clientele. So for us, we didn't put our price up, I think, for 3 years, actually. I think it's best just to nudge prices up slowly. But read your area, read your demographic, and judge it according to where you location, according to your skill level, according to your experience, according to your desire for how much you want to work and how much you want that lifestyle. So there's a lot of factors that come into play with raising your prices.
Right, I'm excited that wasn't even in your top 5. So we're going to talk about what you regard as the 5 most common. Obviously, it will depend on in people's individual circumstances, but in your experience, again, you speak to a lot of therapists. You've through Rehab My Patient. Oh, just to mention, like in March, you doubled, probably, I don't know, double, I'm just making up that stat, but you took on Sports Injury Fix as well.
Yeah.
Probably, which, as if you didn't have enough people. In case you listen to the podcast, that was a fantastic face palm, kind of like his palm just went straight into his forehead when he realized again what he'd done.
It's not been my best business decision, that's for sure. But I did agree to take it on and not make profit from it. But I'm actually really proud of what we've done, which is keep the lights on for those that use SIF, because otherwise they would have been in a very, very, very sticky position. I mean, it's been extremely hard, and not assigning blame to anybody for that. It's the fact that, what we've got to do is really get our head around the code. It's a very, very complicated code, and we have heard today that we may be able to get some support from the old developer in about 2 weeks when he's back from holiday, but it's been a real challenge. But we're chipping away. We're making small steps. But it's not been my best decision, that's for sure.
But my heart was bleeding for you. I've watched your updates, probably 2 or 3 of them since March, and like some people, it's just human nature, isn't it? Some people are really supportive, going, "Oh, thanks for stepping in, mate," when it was about to go under. We thank you for that. It's really nice, Tim. Other people are like, "This isn't working, that's not working, it's really crap, I'm going elsewhere." And you're like, they're not nasty people. It's just human nature, isn't it? It's
honestly, I could, if I could tell you, I would like to actually. I'd love to read some of the emails. They have been horrific.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my goodness. Honestly, if I could just read you some of the things that people
got a thick skin.
I mean, people like really, really yell at me over 10 quid, and it's really, really difficult, and I really, really don't care. We'll give you the 10 quid back. But you look down the line, it wasn't a 10 quid problem. I mean, it's been really difficult, and a lot of the problems that we've had with that is coding. So it's a matter of understanding the code and understanding the site. The code is extremely complicated, and it's a good site. It does a good job. It's actually very functional. There's things we've got to improve, and I intend to improve it and make it better. And then once I've got it to a stage where I'm happy with it, and improve the site, I'd like to donate it to the soft tissue community, and let it be run by the community, because that's where I think it ultimately should sit. It's a good product, but it's a very complicated code.
Okay, well, hats off to you, and thank you on behalf of the soft tissue therapy community.
No, that's right.
It was purely out of, guys, we can't let this disappear. It's going to screw up so many people.
We had to keep this thing on, because suddenly,
that's really good of you.
Every single subscriber would have had no access to it. That means no access to your notes, no access to your client base, no access to your previous appointments, no access to anything. And that site was going to, they were going into liquidation. The company's been shut down. I did emergency talks for over 2 days, and we agreed to take on the liabilities of the company, which were significant, and keep it on.
Good on you. Right. Top 5 mistakes most commonly made.
I think my number one.
Oh, you're going to go number 1 down, are you? You're not going to start number 5 and work?
Okay, we'll start number 5.
Keep it going. Put the hook in there. You've got to. Otherwise, people will turn off after 1. It's 8:30. Go for it.
The first thing that I would say is that I see quite a lot of sports therapists just being massage soft tissue therapists, and I think there's a real place in the market to be more than that. Okay. And I think there's nothing wrong with upskilling yourself, whether it's in rehabilitation and exercise prescription, whether it's in muscle energy techniques, or dry needling, or mobilizations, or osteopathic techniques. I think if you upskill yourself and offer more than just your normal standard soft tissue therapy, I think you do really, really well. And then your clientele will really be impressed by it. And I see this all the time. I see a difference between people that just massage someone for an hour and those that massage someone for 50 minutes and talk to them about exercises. And it goes such a long way, and people really respect that. And I think you'll definitely retain more clients if you do that.
Okay, so that's number 5.
Number 5 is upskill, educate, get trained, improve your skill, your experience, your knowledge. My number 4 is not rebooking your clients and patients, because we always feel guilty to do it, and I do too. Not as much as I used to, but I do. It's not rebooking your clients and patients, because you know what? They're seeing you because they want to see you. And don't be afraid to say, I'd like to see you in 2 weeks' time. You're still in pain. Pop back and see me in 2 weeks' time. Yeah. Now we're not selling them a course of 10 treatments. We're not selling them a course of 20 treatments. We wouldn't ever do that. Okay. We wouldn't ever sell a course of treatments. But what we do is, it's okay to say, if you want to see me, you can see me. It's your choice. And people do. But because we don't rebook them, then they just drift away. And it's okay to rebook them. If they're in pain and they need help and they want to see you and it's on their terms, then I think it's fine to rebook them.
That's amazing. I'm really excited that's your number 4, because that's probably in my history, again, with my natural fear of taking money, and that's probably my number 1. And I was especially priding myself on being kind of helping patients help themselves and not creating, you know, a reliance on the therapist and all the kind of stuff which is I read about and is cool. I was literally saying to people, no, really, you don't need to see me again, go away. It's like you're fine by yourself, which was just ridiculous, because like you've said, that person might realize that they don't need you, but they also know they're probably not going to do their exercise unless they come in. Or maybe they just want to see you because they have a great hour. It's to get away from everything else, and they'll, you know, be more focused when they come in to see you. They could have 101 questions. So for probably a good year, I was turning people away, and they were probably just going to see someone else because they thought, well, Matt doesn't want to see me. Whereas I thought I was being the hero and you know, producing all these self-sufficient patients. So yeah, it was just changing the word a little bit, saying, well, look, you could get by yourself with what I've given you, but if you want to come back, that's fine as well. It really is up to you.
Yeah.
And bam, you've opened the door.
You've opened the door.
And you're doing nothing wrong, which for me was, I always felt like I was doing something wrong. The pendulum swung too far the other way. Yeah. And also, a lot of people earn a lot more than us. Most people earn a lot more than us. So for them, whatever you're charging is probably tuppence. It's like, what better way of spending, you know, that amount of money for an hour? It's great value you are. I'd love to spend it on you.
Yeah.
You know, so really cool. Good question 4. I'm interested, people joining us. Some people are still coming in, whether you have problems with that. Do you turn people away because you think, you know, otherwise you're creating you're making them feel that they need to see you? Or could you divide that up to 2? Because I think another one is not going through and contacting patients who haven't been up for a while. I know I was pretty bad as well.
That's my number 2.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll delete that from the file.
No, it's good. I mean, we can talk about it now. We can move it.
It kind of links in, doesn't it? A little bit.
It does link in. You know? And that's such a big factor, because you know what, we always feel a bit guilty, like, oh, maybe they didn't come back because they didn't really like my treatment, or maybe they didn't come back because I didn't mobilize their neck, or maybe they didn't come back because they were still in pain and my treatments didn't help them come out of pain. Yeah, so we always feel a bit guilty, like maybe they didn't come back because I wasn't good enough, or I didn't help them enough with their pain. And you know what? It's actually, there's a very good possibility you did a fantastic job, and the techniques that you used did help them, and the things that you offered them did help them. It's just that you haven't contacted them, and you're just out of their mind. And you know what? It's so powerful just to reach out to your previous clientele and your previous patient list and just say, hi, I'm here. And you could say, hey, you know, I'm now doing XYZ. I now do Pilates classes on a Wednesday evening, or you know, I'm now doing gait analysis. You know, just remind them what you do. Remind them how good you are. Remind them if you've been on courses. Get their email addresses on a database and email them every couple of months, every 3 months. It doesn't have to be hard. Just send them an email and go, hi, I'm here, and this is what I've been up to. And then they get to know you, and they want to support you, and they'll come back to see you.
That's great advice. And again, it just opens that door, doesn't it? And the number of times when you do it, you get, oh, wow, it's so cool that you emailed me. Actually, it's funny you should say that. I have been getting that pain in my shoulder again. And I was just, you know, I haven't got around to calling you. And it's, yeah. And it goes undone so much, doesn't it?
I know. I'd set a challenge right now to anyone that's watching this and struggling for clients, is phone 15 of your previous clients that you've not seen for 1 year. And just phone them and go, hi, I just thought I'd let you know that I'm doing XYZ, and I've just phoned up to see how you're doing, and I would leave a message for them, and you'll be amazed. Out of 15 people you call, I bet you'd pick up at least 3 people that would book back in with you. And that's 3 clients. That's 3 appointments that you'll get in next week. And that's 150, 200 pounds of income coming in from making an hour's worth of calls.
I think it's interesting you said phone as well, because I've had it before where I phoned and it's like, oh, well, that email address, I haven't used that for ages, or that email address shut down, or I'm not on social media anymore, or your newsletter, which goes out religiously every month, just goes into my spam mail. I've never seen it before. There's a lot of that, isn't there? The old phone is much more personal as well, isn't it? It's but we fear it. We run away from it.
We fear picking up the phone. And if you do fear picking up the phone, which you shouldn't, but if you do, then there's great softwares online where you can send SMSs. You've probably got their mobile number. Put the mobile number into a spreadsheet. Go onto one of his SMS sending websites. It will cost you about 4p to send an SMS. About 4p to send an SMS. Upload your database and send them an SMS going, hi, I just wanted to touch base. I hope you're doing well. I just thought I'd let you know an interesting piece of news, and see what comes back.
Great advice.
Because I reckon you would get people coming back. And remember, SMS is a good marketing tool. SMSs are very, very highly read. There's like 95% open rate of an SMS compared to, if you're getting 35% open rate of an email, you're doing well. But a lot of people, they just delete emails because everyone gets so many emails. But actually, SMSs tend to be read. I use an SMS tool, a website. I can't remember what it's called, so I've not used it for a while. I think it was called. Let me just see if I can find it. No, I'll have to Google a bit harder. It's not coming up on my.
I'll make sure it goes into the notes when you do find it. But people get less SMSs, don't they?
I think it's called Text Marketer or something like that. And it costs me 4p a message, and you buy the credits. I bought, I think, 1,000 credits or something, or 2,000 credits, and it cost a couple £100 or less, £100. I can't remember. And then I uploaded the CSV file and I blasted out a message. And that's how you get around the nervousness of picking up the phone going, hi, I've not spoken to you for a year, which you should never feel nervous doing.
Yeah. Tricky.
Because you know what? So many of your clients probably go, oh, wow, it's so great to hear from you. I've been like you said, I've been meaning to call you because I've had shoulder pain for the last 6 weeks. I've got headaches, I'm getting neck ache. Every morning I'm waking up with neck pain. And I've been meaning to call you to see if you can do some treatment on my neck to improve it.
Yeah, definitely that'll be the majority. And even if you do get one who goes, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. And they just hang up. So what? It's like, you just move on to the next one, don't you?
What? Who cares? So what call the next one and the next one and pick up those clients and they'll be so pleased to hear from you.
Excellent. Okay, so we've done number 5. I'm so glad I didn't just guess your number 1 then. That still leaves the hook in there. So we've done number 5, which was making sure you keep at the end of a session, open the door to the client coming back. Don't just send them away. And then we kind of stumbled forwards because of my fault to number 2, which was go through your database and ring people back if you haven't heard from them for a while, and don't be worried about that and use the phone. Let's go all the way back. Sounds like the charts. Let's go back to number 4 this week, which is what? 4th biggest error people make?
It's not networking. You need that group of people who know who you are. And networking is free to do. And it just involves talking to people. It involves communication. And you know what? I would say to you, the next 50 people you come across, just tell them what you do and have that conversation. I used to do it all the time when I set up my clinic in 2005. And I would go down to the local athletics track and I'd make friends with sports coaches and I'd say to them, I'm here and I'm building up my business and I'm happy to treat your athletes for free if they'd like any treatment. And within about 6 months, they were sending so many athletes over because I treated a whole load of them for free. And then suddenly they all wanted to come for treatment because they all were doing really well. And you just get that networking. And, you can offer them a discount to groups. So you build that group of clientele or patients who will see you. If you sit at home and not get yourself out there, how are you going to get these people in? You need to network yourself and have that confidence to talk to people about what you do.
Do you think there's a danger of people confusing or thinking that social media is the new networking and that's how by following people? And
Yes.
Instead of going down to the track, going down to the gym, going down to the club. Yeah.
Yes, there's absolutely a place for social media, but we all know the best form of communication is actually just going and having a chat to somebody. And you might just take some cards out, or just, you might walk past people in the park, or, and it sounds mad, but actually, do you know what? Just chatting to people, you build a network. And that works best in small groups, in clubs, in niches, in sailing clubs, or squash clubs, or hockey clubs, or rugby clubs. And when you get attached to a rugby club, you'll be amazed, because the rugby players see you, and their wives see you, and their partners see you, and the older gentleman propping up the bar having a beer, they all see you. But you get that group of contacts. And that's how I started. In 2002, before I was qualified. I qualified in 2002. 2002 and 2000, I joined a rugby club, and I gave 2 years voluntary pitch side work to a rugby club. And I was working from my mum's home, and I was treating players for free, and I was doing it for free for 2 years, and to build up my experience. And they were sending all their wives and girlfriends and partners and fathers and family over for treatment, and they were all paying.
Yeah, 2 years. That's cool.
2 years, and after that, I charged £60. I did another 3 years after that, £60 a week.
Yeah.
And I think I made one season. I think I made £1,200 from pitch side and doing an evening a week. So not a lot of money. But what it did do is it was a start of helping me build my business, because I built that reputation, and they all wanted to come in and trust
face to face. It's a powerful tool.
Yeah.
Gary's made a couple of, as always, Gary's made a couple of great comments based on that. Mentioned contacting clients post-treatment is important to develop the therapeutic relationship. Yeah, giving them a buzz. How's it going? Especially if you haven't heard from them. Not taking it personally, isn't it? Thinking if they don't contact you, that they just don't want to come in again.
Yeah.
People are busy.
Yeah.
People have other things to do.
Yeah.
And then he continues on what we're just talking about now. Gary says, giving talks and demonstrations at local groups is a great way of building local reputation, as is wearing branded clothing. Gary sees the 6'6" Club thinking the same thing, because we know how difficult it is to get branded clothing. But yeah, the number of times, as a person fueled by coffee and grabbing coffees in Nero's, Costa's, and that was years ago when I didn't care so much about my coffee. But yeah, just having a sports therapist coat on your back, or a t-shirt with something on it, and the number of people who would just go and say, "Oh, sorry to bother you. I just realized that you're a sports therapist." I was making business whilst I was having a coffee in a bar or something. It was a good way to do. And also, I always recommended to other people that don't just put your sports therapist on your back, stick a phone number on there, because a number of people who don't want to approach you or talk to you, but they might. I had people writing down my number, where that famous question of where did you hear about me from, which is so important. I'm hoping that's not your number one, but where did you hear about me is such an important question, because then you know what's working or not. But the number of times it was, oh, actually someone saw you out and you had a jacket or something on, bam, that was my number. So it's a big one.
Yeah.
Branded clothing. And obviously, if you're in the STA and you're interested in branded clothing, just talk to Gary Benson, because we're proud providers of merchandise for the STA.
That's a great call.
Okay, right. So networking, yes. I mean, we could easily talk about ways of networking, and maybe we will expand on that at another date. But that's our number 4, isn't it? We've got 3 and 1 to go. Let's have number 3.
Yeah. So actually, so we've got the not rebooking your clients and patients, and not just being another. Don't just be a massage therapist, right?
Oh, yes.
I know you're way more than that, but it's easy just to get into that routine. But be much more on that upskill, and use all your skills that you've learned on the way. So we've got not networking, and not following up your previous clients. And my other one, I think, is spending money on advertising. So I think it's an error, and I don't recommend it. For growing your clientele with a therapy business, I would not recommend advertising. And it's simply do PR and networking. So don't waste money on adverts, because my experiences, and I have been there, and I have wasted an awful lot of money on adverts, from magazines to box outs in papers to I've tried pretty much every advertising, and my experience is it doesn't work very well, and you spend a lot of money and you don't get a good return.
I really wasn't sure which way you were going to go then, because you went not advertising. I was like, does it mean that one of the mistakes is people are not advertising? Does it mean people are advertising too much? So you're saying that
paying
it's
for advertising.
you're paying for advertising,
Paying for advertising
hasn't got a good return.
Yeah, you are much better off buying a printer, buying a ream of A4 paper, printing out some A4 flyers on your printer, going around the 5 roads closest to where you work, and putting paper through people's through people's doors, and you'll probably pick up a couple of clients per 100 leaflet drops, and that's what I used to do. Get a couple of clients behind, or 2 clients, and if you do enough of those 2 clients, you'll soon actually pick up those people, and people are prepared to pay and see you, and people are in pain, and there are people with disposable cash out there. I know people are feeling a pinch. Yes, they are, especially since April, since the energy prices went up. But if you hit enough people, there are people that are prepared to pay for treatment. So it's getting out there. It's networking and talking to people, and it's not spending money on advertising.
Interesting. We are going to have a whole episode devoted to social media. When you, because the latest form of advertising, which is pretty much rammed down your throat, it's a very successful way of generating money by the people who are offering advertising. But Facebook, for example, you're always offered, and it's kind of, for a while, it was the kind of poster child of, you can select what audience you want, you can select which region, and it kind of was like the perfect solution. But have you got any experience with Facebook marketing? Does it depend on what you're selling?
Yes.
Or what do you think?
Yeah, I have. I've tried a lot of sponsored posts, and if I'm being honest, I've always been disappointed.
Right.
And please, there's probably people out there that would prove me wrong, and there's probably people that are doing it actually a lot better than I did, because I tried it myself. So it's probably, if you're actually out there doing sponsored Facebook posts and you're actually making it work and you're making money, fantastic, keep doing it. My experience is it's very, very hard. You don't tend to get a good return, and it might work in a short time, but over a longer period, it doesn't tend to. And that's my experience. But if you are doing it, is there anyone out there that has done sponsored Facebook posts, and how did it work for you?
Yeah, we'd love to hear. People in the live lounge, let us know.
Yeah,
I've I don't know when it started. I'm not sure, but I'm really backing away from social media in quite a big way. I'm just getting tired of it. I'm not sure it's because my kids are getting a bit older and I'd see myself on my phone, or I'm just more conscious of it. But in doing so, when I am on social media, I still need to do it to find some amazing guests for this show and stuff like that, just to stay informed. But I'm kind of seeing in the last few months a dramatic drop in the number of likes and shares, particularly on Facebook. There's a few big things which are being launched in this month, and people have been, dancing and singing about it in the normal locations. And I'm seeing kind of like 3 or 6 likes, whereas normally it would be kind of 40, 50, 100, 200 likes. And something's happened. I'm not quite sure. I haven't put my finger on it yet, but social media is taking a little bit of a turn. I don't think as many people are actually that interested now in what they see digitally. I'm not sure what the reason is.
I think the same. I think a lot of people are changing from social media onto TikTok, from Facebook to TikTok. So I've seen a big growth. We see a big growth in TikTok. We've just started a TikTok account, and I see people. I think people are getting a bit bored of Facebook. If I'm honest, people still use it. Of course, it's got a huge following, but I think that the glory days of Facebook. Let's see. We'll see how it develops with Meta, but I think it's people are getting a bit bored of it.
Yeah, Catherine says I did sponsored posts at the beginning of Facebook. You're not old enough to be there for the beginning of Facebook, are you, Catherine? Surely. But yeah, I did sponsored ads at the beginning of Facebook, but I didn't get any clients from it.
Yeah.
I've never had personally very good results. When I was marketing all the Run Chat Live conferences and things, I would stick it out there and you think I'm only spending 15 20 quid and it's hitting this audience, but I didn't get that much back from it.
I didn't either. And Gary says, with the leaflet dropping, it's not a great return on investment. It's not. I used to do 100 leaflet drops at a time, but if you do 100 drops, you can still pick up a couple of clients from it, and you can do 100 drops in a couple of hours. And actually, if you pick up a couple of clients out of 100 leaflet drops, it's not bad. You've got to, it helps to be targeted. So, so approach the right sort of neighborhood. But yeah, I used to do a lot of it, and if you just pick up a couple of clients here and there, it can make a big difference to your working week. Those 2 clients might see you every month for the next 6 months.
And leaflets sometimes can go up on fridges. They get put somewhere,
Yeah.
you know, on by the
And
phone.
most of them will go in the bin,
Yeah,
of course.
but the ones that
But
don't.
you will hit one, and if you make it personal enough, I think if you print it as well. We had a lady come around that was doing leaflet drops for advertising her cleaning services, and straight away I saw it was just a printed sheet on a printer, nothing glossy, nothing professional, and it just said, "Here's my name, and I'm looking for printing work." And I kept it, and I thought, that's someone who I want to contact.
Bingo. There we go.
Yeah.
We've got an interesting kind of polar thing happening with the live people here tonight. We've got Catherine Reimer, who's said with a monkey with its hands over its face symbol, all Tim is saying is what I'm not doing. I need to be a better business person. So that's Catherine on the one side of things. So Catherine, I'm glad that we found something you're not doing. That's the idea. That's the goal of the podcast. It'd be boring if you just heard things you're already doing. So I'm kind of happy in a way, Catherine, because it's all up from here, isn't it? It's great. Hopefully it gives you some ideas. But then on the other side, go on. You comment on that.
Catherine, I've written a free ebook. It's like an ebook. It's not even an ebook. It's like a guide, which I just knocked up on Word, which is about 26 pages long. And I'd be more than happy to share it with you. It's just a PDF. It's like a couple of megabytes big, with some tips that I've learned along the way through, mostly from making mistakes. But I'd be very happy to share with you, or even Gary, if you wanted to distribute it to the STA and you know have a look at it, and if there's anything relevant in there, you can make it tailor it to whatever. But I'm happy to share some tips with you if that'd be helpful. So I've got a PDF which I can send you if you'd like.
Very kind. Yeah, that'd be great. Because I mean, you were physio early 2000s. When did you?
Yeah, 2005. Yeah.
And then you decided to do osteopathy.
I did osteopathy first. So I first did reflexology. I became a reflexologist and set up a small little business doing reflexology. And then I qualified as an osteopath.
Osteo first.
Yeah. Then I officially qualified as a physio in 2005, or became registered as a physio in 2005 with the HCPC. And then I've done all sorts of things from rehabilitation was most of my training over the last few sort of 10 or 15 years.
You've seen a lot, and it took you to the Olympics as well, which I'm sure was
6 times now.
Yeah, six times.
6, yeah. So I was in Beijing this year, which was very, very interesting. And they always are unique experiences going to Olympic Games.
Yeah.
But I mean, actually, I try and do so much from NHS work, to supporting the NHS, to vaccinations, to Olympics, to health and lifestyle coaching, and try and encourage people to improve their lifestyles and lose weight, to software, to clinics. Because I get so much enjoyment from having a variation in my week.
There we go. Nikki has, so basically you're looking good for your age, and you've been around, but you've seen a lot of stuff come and go. So that's why
I'm starting to get the wrinkles.
Botox is wearing off, is it? Yeah, just go and get a little bit more in there.
Yeah.
Right. Nikki has approaching from the other end, and Nikki says, Catherine, I'm the opposite. I'm doing everything Tim's saying is good. And my bookings are spiraling. I've gone from fully booked plus waitlist for 10 years to less than half booked due to economy. Okay, so that's interesting. What would you say for Nikki?
It's the worry, isn't it? Is that people are feeling that pinch, and so it's obviously a worry, but we've got to really keep going and keep going, Nikki, and also, like Gary's offered, you could get a little bit of support and some mentorship, and it just helps motivate, to motivate you to really to network and to promote yourself and promote your great work.
Get some fresh ideas. Doesn't matter how long you've been in the business, is it? It only takes one person with a different angle to suddenly. I've just realized what I did now. I thought you were saying that you had a wait list for like 10 years. I'm sorry, I can book you in 10 years time. You didn't mean that, Nikki. You were saying you've been in the game for 10 years and for that long you've had a fully booked waiting list and stuff. So apologies for reading it out the wrong way. Yeah, have a chat with someone, Nikki. I think I know I pick up things. Well, I'm in the lovely position of being the host here. So every week with a guest, I'm hearing something new and making me reflect and think. And I'm pretty sure I'm older than even our guest. So there you go.
No, you still look pretty young to me.
Oh yeah, I look younger than you. I never said I didn't look younger than you, but I think I'm older there. Right, Gary Benson's back and says leaflets in running. Gary's brilliant for marketing. I remember Gary was one of my tutors years
Really
ago,
good.
and he was like the business card expert. And
And
Gary
you know
said
what? Also, Gary's really good at networking. Yeah, and that's such a key when you're growing your own business, is that networking.
it's a big thing, and it's interesting because I think Gary would be happy not talking to anybody. I don't mean that nastily, but I think it doesn't come naturally. It's not like Gary says, "Hey, everybody," kind of Mr. Tumble jumping out and saying hi to everyone. I think Gary, it doesn't come naturally. He's just realized through, and I'm just speaking for here, Gary, but it's not that you have to be an extrovert to be able to network. It's a professional thing that you learn, and there's tricks and ways to do it, and being in the right place and getting confidence. But yeah, Gary says leaflets in running shops, cricket club notice boards, golf club shops work much better if marketing is targeted to those demographics. Definitely. Walk in the streets a little bit more. Catherine has said that'd be great, Tim, taking you up on your offer of the PDF for tips. That'd be great. Gary has said, let's schedule a call, Tim. So Gary's there as well, networking with you. And Catherine says here, replying to Nikki, says, Nikki, I know that at times things can fluctuate due to school holidays, that kind of thing, having to juggle kids and time for them too. I know it's not just that, can be economy too. There's so many factors, isn't there? So many multifactorial things going on. Yeah. Okay, so there were your top 5, weren't they? Yeah. Was there, and they're amazing, and we'll make sure they go into the notes in order from 1 down to 5. Was there anything which nearly made it?
Notepad. What's that? Sorry?
Was there anything which you thought, shall I put that in? Because I only said you could have 5. Was there any near misses? Anything else which you think could have made the top 5?
Yeah, there's a few other bits. I think a lot of it is also self-belief, and to have that self-confidence. Look, what you said about being extrovert and introvert is really interesting, because I've always considered myself an introvert, and actually I feel I'm actually very out of place in social situations. At parties, I'm useless, and in clinics I'm good, because I feel really confident with the way I treat, or the way, you know, in clinic environments and medical environments. But actually it's just really, really hard if you are a bit introverted, and trying to have that self-belief. I've built up a bit over the years, and have confidence in yourself, because the chances are you're doing a really great job. But sometimes we think that we're not doing a good job, and having a bit of self-belief is really important. So believe in you.
It's a beautiful thing. I think that's where I'll probably edit the actual podcast and just play some what was it? Did I ever say you were my hero? I think that's what we'll go out with on that. But I think again, that's where I don't want to kind of like thrash them into thing, but having someone else talk to you, even some people hopefully listen to this podcast and hearing you saying that probably picks them up. You know, sometimes you really need it, especially if you're working by yourself and you're kind of, I always remember I used to do a lot of class instruction when I was just working in gyms and things, the whole Les Mills things with body combat and body jam and body pump, and you'd have a class sometimes with 30, 40 people for an hour, just doing it all the way, circuit training, full on, you've got the music going. And then there was always that moment when the class had gone, you were left there in an empty studio, and it was just a total down. It's like, oof. And then the self-doubt would come and you thought, well, yeah, they all enjoyed it. But now, and it's so tricky. And we've had chats about mental health and things like that before, but I think in these days when mental health is on people's minds, excuse the pun, but a lot more, it's easy to have that kind of imposter syndrome, to doubt yourself. There's so much digging away at us in life at the moment. It's easy to fall into dark places. So having that person, you know, just saying, you know what, you're great, you're amazing, can make a huge difference, can't it?
Yeah, because you're right. It is so much with social media as well. We're always made to feel a little bit inadequate. Hugely. And also there's always people knocking you at social media. And some of it I find really uncomfortable. You know, I see a lot of it on Twitter, and it can be so unpleasant. And it makes you feel like what you're doing is actually wrong, especially for manual therapists. You know, I feel guilty sometimes for doing manual therapy, even though I know it works and my patients seem to respond great to it. And yet I can read social media and still feel guilty for doing manual therapy. And you know what? And then I have to pick myself up and say, don't be stupid. It does work, and patients do benefit from it. And so there's so much on social media that can actually give you a bit of a knock. So it's like, try and believe in yourself.
There you go. So that could be number 6 and 7. judge yourself, comparing yourself to what people on social media. There's some really good people who talk about that. I think even, I can't remember who it was now, but normally it's Denzel Washington or someone, but like, it's so true. We do compare ourselves too much. And often the people who seem so successful taking pictures from Dubai and all these areas and jacuzzis and making millions, they're probably not. And they're probably not as happy as they look, you know, otherwise they wouldn't be on Instagram sharing it with everyone. They'd just be lapping it up. So it's tricky. Don't judge yourself by others on social media. All right, mate, look, it's 9 o'clock. That zoomed by. I'm really excited for people to go through this again on the podcast and have a listen. If people want to contact you or follow you and see what you're up to so many things. So that's probably a difficult question, but what's the best way of following you and getting in contact with you, do you think?
So probably either add me on Facebook or I'm on Twitter, not very much, but at Tim Allardyce on Twitter is great. Yeah, you know, I'm happy to reach out. If Nikki, I feel a bit bad actually reading some of your messages, and if you know, I think Gary's offered some support, but I'm also happy to have a chat with you if you'd like. You know, there's no charge. I'm happy to give 30 minutes of my time just to have an online coffee or something, and if you just need a bit of support, because it's hard out there and it is tough. So yeah, reach out, just drop me a line or speak to Gary and he'll pass on my details.
Fantastic, very kind. And Sabrina wins a prize for being late. Sabrina, you're an hour late, Sabrina. What's going on? I mean, come on. I mean, thanks for apologizing, but just got 20 minutes you got watching back from the start after. Yes, I've definitely found leaflets better than advertising, always word of mouth. Thanks for joining us, Sabrina. I hope your day's been good, and you'll be able to catch up on the podcast or in the video if you want to watch on YouTube. If you are listening to the podcast and you want to see Tim Allardyce in action, actually on video, then just go to the Sports Therapy Association YouTube page, and that's up there forever on YouTube, as opposed to Facebook, which just disappears in a feed and you never see it again. So that's why we're only on Facebook now. Right, Nikki Mansfield will have the final word. Nikki has said, "Thank you, Tim. That's so kind. That would be amazing."
Not a problem.
Right, guys. Business, that was a great start. Tim, thank you so much. That's really opened the door to a lot of interesting thoughts on focus on business, as I knew it would. It continues this month, all of June. We've got some great guests lined up covering topics such as social media, which will go into more depth on advertising and different ways of using social media, the pros, the cons, does it suit you, is it not for you, that sort of thing. And we're going to have other topics as well lined up. But I've even got a gap for a guest, which I'm leaving open. There's a few people talking and getting back to me, but I'm happy to put someone in there which meets the demand. So if you really have got any particular aspects of business for soft tissue therapy that you would like covered, then let me know, obviously in the next kind of few days, Matt at the STA103.co.uk, and I'll find someone who caters for whatever your requirement is. I will find them and seek them and bring them. So send them over to me. I'm going to sign out now. Tim, hang around so I can say thank to you personally if you'd be so kind. I'm going to shut the live lounge. All it is left for me to say, hopefully we'll see you next week, next Tuesday at 8 o'clock on the Sports Therapy Association.